Restaurants like Fleming's behind me and businesses all across Los Angeles are certified by the Better Business Bureau. However, according to reports, some of those certifications could have been bought instead of earned. Here at Dallas City Hall, Set Free Deliverance Church and representatives of the Dallas City Council are meeting together to unmuddle the mess from a recent property purchase by the church for $25,000. In any case between the state laws and federal laws, the federal rules will always reign supreme. The DEA, or Drug Enforcement Agency, can make arrests on marijuana charges because of the Controlled Substance Act. And the UCLA students didn't just stop at support and letters to the Boston Marathoners. They've also set up blood donations to be given to the Ronald Reagan Medical Center. The storm dumped between 7 to 12 inches of wet snow on parts of Connecticut and hit the region with 50-mile-per-hour winds. $1.8 million was spent last year cleaning up the city. However, Caltrans efforts are more than just a beautification process for streets like this. It's an effort to make it safer for drivers. Dr. Jackson played key roles in the construction of the International Residential College at Parkside, the refurbishing project at the Lions Center, and even the construction of the Ronald Tudor Campus Center behind me. He was killed when a car ran a red light and struck the passenger side of the Ford Mustang where he was sitting. There will be various speakers throughout the service, including the dean of the Viterbi School of Engineering, where he was studying electrical engineering. To conclude the services, his father will be the last speaker. The search continues for the body of Ulysses Coleman here at Joe Pool Lake after he drowned yesterday afternoon. However, game warden officials say the outcome could have been different had he been wearing a life jacket. The family and friends of Ulysses Coleman continue to wait and pray along the shoreline of Joe Pool Lake. The 25-year-old disappeared after he fell off a tube yesterday without wearing a life jacket. He never resurfaced.
A lot could have happened differently in this incident had life jackets been worn.
3 people drowned yesterday in the lake. The second man was also not wearing a life jacket and drowned while attempting to save his children. Though Texas state law says after 13 years of age, life jackets are not required to be worn, authorities are urging lakegoers to strap on their safety vests regardless of age.
They need to wear their life jackets while they're on the water. And we realize it's hot and the life jackets can sometimes be uncomfortable, but they'll save your lives.
Y'all can jump out in a minute and help.
Laura Hershenrader, who grew up on the lake, agrees. No matter how old her passengers are, everyone wears a life jacket.
We always have our life jackets on. I grew up on the water, so out at Possum Kingdom, and it was a hard and fast rule that you didn't go near the water without your life jacket.
That sort of mentality could save lives. But without the law requiring the life jackets be worn, authorities worry people will not take the initiative.
It's been my experience that it won't change unless there's a law change.
The law may not change, but the sight of this family's pain may convince a few to put on that life jacket the next time they go on the water. Chelsea Goss, CBS 11. Medical marijuana dispensaries may be losing business very soon, but not for lack of customers. The U.S. Attorney of Los Angeles says they're cracking down on the dispensaries.
Forgetting California law for a moment, under federal law, the possession, cultivation, transportation, anything to do with marijuana is illegal, period.
In any case between the state laws and federal laws, the federal rules will always reign supreme. The DEA, or Drug Enforcement Agency, can make arrests on marijuana charges because of the Controlled Substance Act. And in that act, it says that marijuana is still considered a controlled substance along the same lines as heroin or cocaine.
So this classification is not scientifically valid, it's not reasonable, and yet it's the law. And while people have been trying very hard since 1970 to get marijuana reclassified or removed from the Controlled Substances Act altogether, there are politics involved. And Congress could do it, but they've just decided not to.
There are over 1,000 dispensaries in Los Angeles County, and the U.S. Attorney's Office says they plan on shutting them all down within a year and a half.
So we have targeted these commercial marijuana operations both because they're illegal in all circumstances under federal law, but it's also our position that the vast majority of operations, in fact, we have yet to see one that is not also in violation of California state law.
With the legitimacy of their business in question, dispensary owners are left to wonder whether they'll be the next target of a federal raid.
It's really hard and frustrating. It's not only for us, because we're trying to keep our jobs as security, basically it's harder for the patients.
The reaction that you get initially is if they're going to come after me.
Medical marijuana advocates say the argument between state and federal law is confusing and a waste of time.
It's absolutely counterproductive to have law enforcement coming in and busting people under federal law for activity that is legal under the state law or might be legal under the state law.
And what will this mean for medical marijuana users? Well, Jim DeMeo, who underwent shoulder surgery, is not happy about the chance of losing his choice of medication.
I could take Vicodin, I could take a lot of Advil, but the health risk, comparing Vicodin and the chemicals in there as opposed to marijuana is like night and day.
Despite the backlash, the U.S. Attorney's Office says they will continue their targeted approach to shutting the dispensaries down one at a time. Chelsea Goss, ATVN.
Bruins for Boston, run at noon. Please come show your support.
UCLA students pounded the pavement to show their support for the Boston Marathoners. The symbolic 15-minute walk through campus was inspired by Boston's coming together after the tragedy.
And I think that's been one of the most positive things about this whole ordeal is that sense of community that they found that we're trying to support and find here as well, to kind of express our sentiments and, just lend them whatever we can give them.
The walk began in the Bruin Plaza, where the Student Council Association had a table set up for students to write letters to marathoners. Though the letters were addressed to Boston in general, some students from the Boston area said the letters were still personal.
Whatever support we can get is really nice, just to know that everyone is thinking of us. And these type of events are really horrific, but I guess it does bring out a lot of good in people. Even here you can see people come together really quickly.
And the UCLA students didn't just stop at support and letters to the Boston Marathoners. They've also set up blood donations to be given to the Ronald Reagan Medical Center here at UCLA in honor of the marathoners who kept running all the way to give their donations after the blast.
And an event like this where we can take a symbolic stance for something across the country, but be able to have an enormous amount of people actually helping our community here today, that impact is tremendous for our local community.
More than 60 students signed up to donate blood today, and the drive will last all week. Chelsea Goss, ATVN.